Good morning, everyone. We are live here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this conversation with Joe and myself. We title is "We AI did not kill academic integrity" uh, for a number of reasons, which we will discuss over time. But the idea for us is to have a conversation on integrity today, the role that technology plays in this conversation, and if maybe we aren't taking the right approach, or we are not having the conversations that maybe we should be having here. And the perfect person to join us here is Joe Thibault. Um, Known Joe for a long time. We've been working with each other for a long time. Joe is a real veteran in the edtech industry, particularly as an entrepreneur, as an early adopter of many technologies, but also issues. I was only realizing that like you were kind of at the gate of many things that are today like commonplace, especially Moodle in particularly. So that's exciting too. So hello, Joe. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Awesome. So let's get started. I did have like this question of how to kick things off. Is AI or other tools increasing the cheating, or is this something that has been out there for longer than technology? Um,
But that's a great question to start with, and I would say is like a nod to the title that we came up with and trying to brainstorm is that I think that there's a lot of hand wringing currently about how AI is impacting our ability to know what students know, and I don't think that artificial intelligence has really it didn't kill kind of academic integrity. It was like unfortunately it was like kind of maimed in previously to that point is like it was we were ignoring some kind of big gaps in how we uh, assess or validate whether students know what they know, and uh, those have just been kind of long-standing facts, especially for synchronous online, asynchronous online, online delivery. Tools in the learning management system can help to support some of those things. But one of the things that Chris and I wanted to make sure is that people understand is like a lot of the kind of concerns related to AI being used by students these days is not really it's more of like a tool that students are using to do this, but that the gaps in terms of validating student work have existed for a long time, and I think the solutions that are being offered now really are solutions that kind of transcend whether AI is being used or not, and kind of to the point where uh, cognitive offloading, whether that's to an AI, another person, a friend, or some other mechanism that students are taking, that undermines kind of our idea of academic integrity. AI didn't kill it, right? Is this, but there is
yeah,
a requirement for us to look at ways to better evaluate students and to make sure that if we don't want cognitive offloading to occur, that it's not.
right. And I think another thing that maybe I'm kind of spoiling part of the conversation, but another way what we pick this title is AI did not kill academic integrity because it is not dead. It may
That's
be
true.
impaired, it may be hurt, but I think there's a lot of things and a lot of people who are doing efforts to kind of have these conversations. And we hope this one is adds a little bit to that. Eh, like integrity is important, but we also want to bring this context of what is technology and also this issue of the contract cheating, which is kind of a whole another beast we will talk about today, right?
That's right.
Um,
Um, Cool. Well, so
yeah, so
I've got a
we
lot of stuff
can,
to cover. Yep. I'm going to go super fast, but we are monitoring comments if
so
you're watching
please go
live.
ahead. Yeah.
All right, great. Okay, we'll just get started. So um, I'm going to do this in two parts as quickly as possible. Number one, we're going to cover a lot of research that we've done for my organization through a blog that we run called This Isn't Fine, and through Cursive, is staying on top of kind of the tools and the trends for cheating, or tools specifically related to cheating and sites that proffer those tools. We'll cover that in terms of data and changes to mostly site traffic as we're seeing it, as an easy way, as a proxy to kind of evaluate how student behaviors and student sentiments are changing towards different tool usage or different ways to either circumvent or undermine academic integrity policies as they're being offered. And then second, we'll talk about kind of the tools, tactics, policies, really great instruction, kind of guidance that's being offered now in academic integrity circles and kind of more broadly about how might you increase the validity of assessments or rethink assessments to have higher validity for because of in kind of like reflecting kind of the state of student behaviors and seeing what we can do for those. That'll include some tools and other things like that available through learning management systems, and we'll call those out pretty specifically. So, okay, so first I want to make sure is like we understand that cheating is a lapse, right? It's something that's not. This isn't it often is not malicious. Students cheat for many reasons, and it's not because they're trying to take one out on you most often. They could be a lack of confidence for the assignments, not really believe that they can do the thing, or may have not the scaffolded information or knowledge or wherewithal to actually like achieve the standard by which you're setting through your own assessments. They may be cheating by rule, but not as an intent to actually undermine academic integrity tools or your policies. So this idea of being naive to, I used it in this way, I used Grammarly, it did rewrite my sentence, and now I'm getting flagged on AI detection or something like that, right? So awareness of these rules and awareness of tools is also super important. Could be motivation as well. No, sorry.
I didn't mean to throw you a curveball, but I was wondering what keeps you honest, like maybe now or when you were a student. Yeah, like
so I would say is like it's a great
we
question.
all had motivations, right? Like say, oh, maybe this is easier. Maybe it doesn't matter if I do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember any time where you say, okay, I'm not going to cheat? This is why.
Yes. I mean, I was fortunate to have great teachers and to be highly motivated for the subject area specifically that I was studying. So most recently, I went back for a master's in business administration, and that was all content directly relevant to kind of what I'm working on now, but also is like I could see that these skills were going to be important to do these, and I like to exercise the muscles of learning, right? That like to flex towards learning something new, to grinding out essays, and to actually doing the writing. I get a lot of kind of personal intrinsic satisfaction out of those things. But I'm unique, right? I'm not like every other student that's out there. So appealing to students through assignment design that actually provides relevance to their career aspirations, that their interests also, those are important aspects here. So this idea of motivation and as a way to decrease cheating is definitely something of interest. So
some intrinsic motivation. I really believe in that.
Yeah. Other reasons that students cheat: moral disengagement, right? Is like it's kind of like that I don't see the need for this, or I see other students doing it, right? So if the normalization of cheating can definitely have an impact as well, and kind of chip away at the willpower a student might have to complete the work, right? External forces also, right? I got to go to work. I have limited time. I have some competing priorities. I want to go out with my friends. Like those things also can have an impact on a student's motivation to do the work, especially when there's a click of a button can mean the difference between not getting the assignment done and getting the assignment completed. Opportunities also, right? Is like if I'm inundated, if I'm searching for a little bit of essay help and I get an ad for an essay mill or something like that, that's an opportunity to cheat now. And if it's a low cost, right, low risk, getting to the last point here, this idea of like risk and reward. If you have a policy currently where if a student submits a paper and if they get caught cheating, right, from AI detection or something like that, but they only get a 0, that's actually the kind of the same that would be the same ramification if I didn't do the assignment at all, right? So we have to make sure that the risk and reward for cheating versus not cheating are commensurate with what we're expecting from a behavior standpoint. So just some thoughts there. I'll allude to another great resource related to kind of why do students cheat later, a great book, and we'll take from here. So, okay, so one of the things that my background is in, and what some of the data that we'll see is for what is kind of contract cheating. So what is contract cheating? That is anytime that you are paying for or trading for your work to be done by another person, right? So I could pay Chris to write a paper for me. I take that paper, I submit it as my own. We've called that plagiarism in the past, but the idea, this kind of like transactional nature where I'm making a payment for it, that does exist. This is actually pretty large industry, and it's estimated that in 2018, about 16% of students were admitting to this, saying that they did pay or they did use some type of contract cheating in the past. That represented about 31 million students worldwide, so it's not a small amount. If you're interested in more information about this, we have a Substack that tracks this information, also proactively works with our audience, about 200 people, to take these ads, right? This idea of like opportunity, to remove the opportunities. If I search for essay help or something like that, you can join that fight with us for free. Okay, so what's an essay mill, right? So contract cheating includes many different ways to do cheating, right? Essay mills are one of the first and foremost. And if you're searching for essay help, this is what you'll find often being advertised to you. These days, essay mills have changed a lot, especially since 2022, because I can now generate essays with the click of a button through generative AI tools. Now you see essay mills advertising things like it's a 100% human. They've run it through AI. There is no AI included, right? To basically providing this insurance or this additional validation that you can use this service and you're not going to get detected because we don't use AI. We have a human write the papers for you, right? So it is one of the ways that it's enticing. What we've seen.
Sorry, so now I just want to mention that we were looking kind of an advertising of a contract cheating. I think the advertising, particularly the SEO, the keywords that they use have become, I don't know, more sophisticated in a way, in some extent, but sometimes they also be more brazen, like you're cheater, kind of, which is kind of funny. But going back to the data that you were showing, like we're talking about 30 million students who have at least once purchased an essay, something like that. Do you think teachers are aware enough of kind of how big this issue is of contract cheating? Do you think they have kind of the tools or the awareness required to address this situation?
I don't think we have the tools, at least not in a widespread way, to do this. But there are ways teachers can recognize this, especially in a face-to-face classroom, is like knowing your students, having conferences with them, working through and scaffolding assignments as they're coming through is a great way to kind of know your students' writing and to look for where like great variance in the writing from assignment to assignment. I don't believe that there's a lot of awareness, especially in the United States, is that I think there's some of this information is out there, but by and large, more the concern these days is about whether my students are actually doing the work versus how much AI they might be leveraging to do any of my existing assignments. So I think there's work to be done in terms of the awareness around essay mill usage or contract cheating, but that forums like this are great ways to help to share that information.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so when we started looking at essay mills, we cataloged about 300. That list is much bigger now. But what we've seen over the last 2 years is that essentially essay mill traffic is down about 50%. Now it still is not zero. So essay mills are still thriving. There's still many out there. Some are even growing, and a lot are pivoting towards offering AI as a service to their students as well, right? So it's like if you're going to pay for an essay, you might pay a little bit less for the guarantee of an AI generated essay that can meet these kind of benchmarks and not get you detected, right? So it's like if the intent is there, if I have the student already on my site, I can upsell them or sell them something different to accomplish the same type of Thanks. Now, there is a lot more information related to kind of like humanity, human verification, human authentication, kind of provided as part of this. When we're looking at sites like Chegg, and I think that this is probably from one of the homework helper sites, there's kind of Chegg, Course Hero, and other sites like that that are kind of answer services, is a different form of kind of cognitive offload. If I can go get the solution easily, in the back of my textbook was the way that we used to do it back in my day, but those were odds only. Think of this as even evens are available to you, or any question that you can kind of point your phone at and provide could be answered by a human. They've leaned into this as well, but we're seeing like significant traffic declines, about 40% down year over year, trending very similarly to our kind of essay mill traffic overall, right? So on the screen, what we have are a blue line representing traffic to essay mills over the last 2 years. The yellow line is traffic to the kind of big four homework helping sites. Highly correlated, because you can see kind of the ebbs and flows based on summer breaks, especially here in the US. Yeah. So and we're continuing to see kind of traffic declines there. Switching.
And I think, just why before we were showing that, like at the beginning, where people are starting to use ChatGPT, they hit like the 100 million users in a record time, but then in the summer it just plummeted because of that.
And ChatGPT.
But would you say?
As I say, the ChatGPT and other tools represent a lot of usage, which we're not covering here because there's just such a plethora of other use cases for ChatGPT. I don't think it's like intentionally being sold as a cheating solution, but still, as many of the other solutions that we talk about here, is like this idea of cognitive offloading that exists for ChatGPT and for Claude and many other generative AI solutions as well.
Right. Yeah. But would you say that ChatGPT and other AI tools are affecting the essay mills, like the demand for essay mills services?
Yes, I think that that's the main. That is the main culprit to the decline of essay mill usages over time. It's just the ease by which I can generate text now, and the lower risk that I have in working anonymously with an AI directly is contributing to the decline of essay mills. Essay mills present a very significant risk for students in a couple of different ways. One is that they know now information about your course enrollments and potentially your identity that could be used against you in the future. So you think of it as like, you don't want to, I would say is like what I would be very concerned for students now is the use of essay mills, and then the student being caught kind of being extorted later for additional money because the essay mill now has information that kind of contradicts the student's knowledge as a pathway to earning a degree, right? So this is very sensitive information, and potentially the students have kind of put them in a situation where somebody has power over the student in ways that are definitely could be used negatively.
Exactly. And I think might lead back to the issue of integrity. Like people are not, essay mills are not dwindling because students are more honest, but because there's this new tool.
Yes, things are changing mostly because I think the ease or the bar by which to be met is a little bit lower. It's easy to copy and paste, right? And that's been the case forever. Paying $13 a page for it versus paying $13 a month for AI-based version, right? You can do the evaluation from a student perspective. One is definitely more effective than the other.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to AI-based writing. So if you think of ChatGPT, that is a place where anybody can go and have essays. You can generate an essay with the snap of a finger, right? Now, there are many other built-to-suit kind of wrappers around ChatGPT that, in a sense, are targeted towards students to specifically fit the same use case as an essay mill. So think of this as AI-powered essay mills with the express purpose of a student using AI in order to generate an essay and then submit that. This is just one. There are many of these sites out there. Generally, they're just wrappers of existing kind of commercial models using an API to do something. They might include some more specific kind of prompting and kind of like additional chains of information in the prompt to solicit a specific outcome. But what to be clear is that what they're doing is basically the same thing you can get from ChatGPT. That does not stop them nor students from paying these third-party sites in order to generate AI essays. As you can see here, this is probably the most prolific, the kind of highest traffic that we're watching, but in a sense is providing the same value proposition that an essay mail does. This also offers the ability to like humanize the text or to spin it in ways that will, are at least they say, are going to bypass AI detection, right? So this is with a kind of offered to students with the clear and intent to bypass existing academic integrity policies.
Yeah.
These are up a lot, right? So traffic is just booming for these types of sites. I think it's almost 200% year over year as we've been tracking these in terms of how they're ballooning. And that's not to say either is like ChatGPT traffic in and of itself is up, is enormous. If I were to put it on this, you would be the yellow and the blue line would essentially look flat because ChatGPT's traffic is metered in the billions of page views. We're talking 50 million for these specific sites that are kind of the digital or AI-based essay mills. But lots of growth, continuing to see trends where it's like the growth is during times when school is in and lower when school is out. So something to keep aware of. Lastly, or there's two more that I want to talk about. One is humanizer sites. There are dedicated sites that take AI generated output from ChatGPT or other sites and then spin it or add synonyms within it, rewrite some of the text to make it more bursty or to add perplexity, things that are going to make it harder for AI detection to do this. In our tests, they don't work, right? But that doesn't stop students from paying for them, and it doesn't stop students from using them, and with the express purpose of bypassing or to circumventing the academic integrity policies as they're being used in the classroom, right? So these are up enormously. So we're seeing kind of a rise about 500% over the last year. The number of these sites is increasing as well, often getting packaged with AI writing sites as well. So there's just another thing to kind of watch out for. And what we're seeing is that intent is changing. We see less traffic to essay mills. We see more traffic to AI enabling cheating or circumvention sites that are out there like humanizers.
Yeah, I think we are witnessing, and we've been for years into this kind of space arms race of humanizers or tools that detect AI writing, but then also the tools that humanize, right, the AI. But then the other, the checkers come up with their new tool that say, oh no, we now also detect humanizers. It's going to be like a lot of that. I say it's funny that one of the ads at the beginning, it says that it's 100% legal, they said.
Yeah.
But it's clear that they are aware of the ethical implications of doing that.
Yes.
It's kind of, I just think of an example of when I was studying economics, where when an industry is not regulated, it's really bad news for the consumer because they don't know what they can get. They have no safety of what they're buying, and they have no recourse because an authority is not going to like fight for them. So if you purchase a humanizer that doesn't work for you, nobody has going to have any sympathy for you.
That's right. That's right. And for $20 a month, I think there's a very little kind of solace a student can take in that once they realize that it doesn't work, but they're going to be out $20, right? Regardless. But that's the same thing as like, we often talk that I don't like this term that cheaters only cheat themselves, but in this case, if you're going to fork over $20, you're kind of only screwing yourself also. So that's just the unfortunate fact of using these tools. Yeah. All right. Speaking of like the kind of last piece is like what's coming, what's looming on the horizon is like this. If this screen has kind of like, ooh, gotcha. That's intentional by the creator of this. This is a tool in a sense that you can use over any Zoom, where it's like I can now It listens, it reads the screen, and it provides me information that only I can see. So in the case of like verifying a Viva or getting a conversation or having a Zoom going, in a sense, the student has a study AI-enabled kind of guidance or the Cicero in their ear constantly, basically providing them the best possible answer that they can give. That's unfortunate, right? It's like this idea to cheat on everything. This is kind of student-enabled agent-based cheating. I think there's another is like agents are probably coming as well, right? The ability to kind of send an AI through my online course is coming soon. But this is like this the counter. This is, I would say, is like not a really good not a good place for it to be when you're talking about integrity, right? When you have something available to students or you're getting a lot of traction that's basically providing the kind of counter opportunity where it's like, oh, you can just cheat on everything. I think kind of societally, this is not the best message to send to students. I think integrity is still is a strong value. That certainly is what I'm looking for from potential employees and from friends and acquaintances, right? So where I think there's some really interesting changes afoot. For these, just looking at it is like kind of the same time scale is like we're starting. This is a fairly new tool set that's out there, but it's growing very, very rapidly. So over the last even just 3 months, I think we see it up about 200%, and it will continue to monitor this. But I expect that this will continue to grow and have applications to circumvent and undermine academic integrity policies in the classroom, in addition to kind of what we would say is like more transparency and honesty policies as part of hiring processes, interviews, and other things like that. So, okay, we keep rolling.
Yes, although we have a question. I don't know if you want to leave it for the end or we can.
I'll take it now.
So this is from Jessa Kirk. What do you think are the key conversations about academic integrity that should be happening between secondary and higher ed? I think this is actually what you're about to start talking now. Yeah. In other words, how might the worlds of secondary and higher ed team up to combat academic misconduct?
I think team up is actually just required. I actually think more conversations could be had between K-12 and higher education. One, from a preparation standpoint, is like K-12 is setting students up the best to have the requisite and essential skills that are going to make them successful in higher education. Reading, writing, critical thinking skills. Those are kind of formative skills that are really the kind of the responsibility of K-12. And if we can nail those, I think higher ed is going to be a lot better off. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the concerns that we have, but obviously is like, I wouldn't expect kind of collusion or contract cheating in the K-8 space for sure, right? So it's like there's a progression of how we need to introduce and to really, I think, to impress upon students that integrity is a value, right? Is something that it's something to be kind of curated over time. It's something that you own. Is really about your thinking, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity for that. I assume I'm speaking to the choir for the most part. Is like a lot of teachers are trying to make time and space for these types of conversations, and if we can help to do that, it certainly is like that's what I would advocate. It's about conversations about helping to students understand that there is value in being honest, having integrity, right, and to doing the right thing, and that these are not things to be normalized, right? I don't want to cheat because I see everybody else cheating. In a sense, is like leading by example, and some of these other. It's like sounds cliche, but I think openness and transparency with K-12 audiences as well, starting conversations then so that they are consistent throughout a student's education career is really, really vital.
Right. I mean, I think I agree with the importance of policies, like at all levels of education, but I'm not sure if policies is the right approach when you start to have these conversations, especially before higher ed. Like with K-12, I don't think we should start talking policy first, but I don't know why, but like others, other approaches.
If not policy in terms of values, right? Is like I think there's a long civics courses and other things like that kind of get to like social responsibility, and I think that is those are topics and conversations that will resonate with students at a lot of levels and don't need to be reserved for higher education. In terms of academic policies, I would say is like honor codes at the high school level, not unheard of, and having procedures and kind of policies and commencements and kind of celebrations of those type of things can help to bring that forth.
Right.
Right. So what do we do? Right. Like if cheating is everywhere, I would say it's like what do we do? Right. Or the opportunities are for it. So I like to use kind of this idea is like cheating, in terms of enforcement or in terms of validity of assessment. It's really about a balance. Is like I want to remove friction and allow students to really learn on their own and learn on their own path and to do the things that they need to do in order to be effective and to kind of show me that they're learning. And then other is like I still need to have some validity, right? So there's this a balance between kind of friction of what do I want to what must I have a student do in order to provide me validity, right? And that's a kind of those things are often kind of at odds. On the one side, right, ease of use. What is there additional steps that a student has to jump through? Is there additional documentation? Is there a specific place that they have to work? Do they have to turn their webcam off? Like all of these are considerations to kind of, the friction that students are faced with. Is it a take-home exam? Is it open book? Right? Other kind of levels impact friction. And the other side is like from ability is like, I need to know what they know, how they know, can they do it? Does a student have confidence in these things? Is like, there's a lot of my confidence in whether the student has those things is like those things are you need to balance those, and it's like on the one hand it can swing both ways. If you are at all interested in terms of like policies towards this and really kind of practical approaches to this, I can't recommend enough a book by Tricia Bertram-Gallant and David Rettinger called The Opposite of Cheating, which is a really great kind of pre-generative AI, but includes a lot of generative AI aspects and AI on how to kind of formulate your own policies, your own procedures, tactics to increase academic integrity as a value for your classroom. A couple of examples is co-creation of an academic integrity policy, especially in light of AI, right? Is like having that conversation kind of open at the beginning of class, including students in the kind of the policy design. That can be a really great way to have students have buy-in. Being more intentional about your course design, what objectives, what outcomes, how are those going to be assessed? That's important. Reiteration, right? Integrity throughout the course, not just one time, not just a checkbox on the assignments, right? Having open conversations about these. And then also, what resources are available to you. So if you're here and you're in the classroom, you're like, I don't know what to do. Your librarian, your student conduct office, instructional designers, all great people who are thinking about this now, right? They're where the rubber meets the road. They're the best resources to help you navigate what's your campus policy, what campus resources are available, how can a course change in order to be more effective in validating whether students know something or how they're going to be assessed in whether they know something. But great book, well worth it, great people as well. Lots of more tips and tricks in there. So moving forward and including, I was going to say is like we do have a guide where you can download kind of all the tools that are available, but we're going to touch on some of that are available through OpenLMS very specifically. So if you are an OpenLMS customer, you could ask to have these flipped on tomorrow. But a couple of different tactics if I wanted to like increase or the authenticity of assessments is making them relevant to students, right? Or making sure that I have a better way to evaluate whether students have done something. Vivas, which is like oral presentation that might accompany a written paper or something like that. Project-based learning, group work, changing the modes of assessment away from writing or away from multiple choice specifically towards videos and presentations and more activities. Obviously, in asynchronous online, there are challenges in doing that. But for online courses, using tools like Big Blue Button or Collaborate, which are kind of Zoom alternatives that integrate directly to the learning management system, great ways to kind of build community and to build some accessible interactions with students. I would say be wary that you have overlay systems now that can kind of provide AI in the ear of students as they're going through these things. So something to be aware of.
Yeah, but
Obviously, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, we have plenty of tools, and I like the word that you used, the friction. Like every time we consider, like in the context of having a conversation of kind of a more direct relationship with students regarding integrity, every tool that we implement represents a set of frictions, right? Um, I relate that to what you mentioned at the beginning about like opportunity, and I wonder if just the same way some of the students cheat just because they see that they have the opportunity to do it, the consequences will be low. I wonder if there are ways in which we can kind of do it in the opposite way, where we can implement friction for the decision to cheat, and we can create kind of opportunities for people to find a reason to do the work honestly, you know?
Yeah. Yes, friction can change behavior, and I would say is like a great example from the opposite of cheating is related to a student who used ChatGPT because it was a open book, open, non-proctored, totally self-paced multiple choice exam, right? So it's like there's not a lot
Yeah.
of things stopping you from opening another window and just pasting or putting information into ChatGPT to get the answers for multiple choice. By adding, the student actually requested that they be forced to use a lockdown browser because that created some friction. Right now, there's additional steps required in order to do those things. That's a simple and potentially impractical suggestion for all students. But raising the friction a little bit, raising the bar for what it requires a student to kind of meet the requirements of an assignment could help. The simple one would be not asking students to do their writing in a specific learning management system and having process tracking or other tools, right? It's like to have that writing has to occur and it can't be just copy paste. Could be additional friction, right? So it's like we have our cursive tool basically is when a student tries to copy paste, we actually say is like, hey, do you want to tell us where this is coming from? What's the text? Is it a quote? Is it from do you have a link? Is it a Word doc that we're working in or a Google Doc? Like help us to find the context of where this text is coming from. And then it changes behavior towards a student kind of, working through the actual writing assignment on the learning management system, where now I can have more information about their interactions, their thought process. I can play it back. Potentially I can see how much time they spent, but that's friction in terms of a student has to do the writing in a specific place. But it also it can help to drive behavior in a specific way for towards integrity or away from kind of the opportunity to cheat. So those are kind of considerations that can be used. Okay, all right. We'll finish strong then. We a couple other tool sets, right? It's like you have after the fact detection. Yeah. Yeah. So we were talking like AI detection, plagiarism detection, right? These are like kind of table stakes now, especially plagiarism detection is like making sure you have original content. Now, in AI worlds, that's hard. A lot of basically every AI output is original, right? So it's like, but and kind of your policies related to these in terms of like whether you're amenable to the potential bias that these might introduce or the other negative ramifications from an AI detection standpoint, or cost. Obviously, is like how much does it cost to have these tools be employed? A lot of considerations, right? So it's like. But if there are ways to leverage these in order to provide some more transparency, allow students to have use of these before they're making submissions, other things like that. Copy leaks and Turnitin are two of the best known. Those are available through the OpenLMS integrations as well. If you're interested in offering both AI and plagiarism detection through the LMS. For other assessments, there obviously is proctoring, right? I can, like you can see me now and you can see my screen, you can set that up so that a proctor can also do that for students during an examination. Obviously, this is very high stakes, but this means is like there's friction that I have to like have my camera on and I'm nervous now because this is like an intense final examination, but validity is also very high. So again, we're in that balance. These are obviously there's a cost included with these. If you're in a face-to-face classroom, no need to have web-based proctoring, right? You can actually administer a test in the examination period in your class. But as you move online, or if we provide more flexibility to students, here's 3 different options. There are many more. If you hit the QR code, we have a list maybe of I don't know, like 20 or 30 different proctoring solutions that are out there. But these 3 are available to kind of turn on directly through OpenLMS as well. And then lastly,
Yeah,
kind of,
I
sorry.
like, no, I just wanted to add, like, I think one cost that should not go kind of like overlooked is the privacy. And in many, like when you mentioned like the high stakes, like an entrance exam, something like that, like the student has to recognize that they will need kind of their biometrics, for example, just for the validity. And that could be justifiable, but I think there are many ways in which it is not. And if there is a way where we can provide a student an option that's more privacy friendly or privacy conscious, whenever possible, we should allow for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say is like the university or K-12 system really have to decide is there a value of knowing the student identity and making sure that we're removing the potential for either impersonation or like an AI or something like that to kind of commandeer my account, or is there at the same time, what can we collect from the student or use as a verification to ensure that it is the student that doing the work, right? It's like there's going to be a balance here. Privacy is kind of squarely in the crux there. Is like it's on the one side, it's like you could have high privacy, low validity, right? If your course is totally open and it's like there's only a username and password. On the other hand, being clear, transparent. From a privacy perspective, since we're talking about kind of biometrics for this, is like that's what Cursive is. We're verifying the student as the person enrolled in the class, and we're doing that longitudinally through their writing. We don't use webcams, right? So there's a privacy trade-off here related to typing versus webcam, right? Like facial biometrics versus typing biometrics. That's a evaluation that you and your students and your organization ultimately will have to make. Is like, we identify a student through a login process. How do we know that they haven't shared a username and a password? Is there other ways that we want to make sure that this has occurred? For high stakes assessment, proctoring is like doing an ID check. They're watching the student the whole time, right? Is that the kind of on the spectrum of friendliness towards students and less privacy, right, for validation is part of this kind of ongoing conversation. And I think negotiation with students to find what it is that we're, what do we opt into, and also what will we accept.
Right.
For Cursive, kind of we're providing we're really focused on authorship. So specifically writing and providing greater use of writing over time in like a proctored like environment, since it's tuned to the student as a typist. We're doing evaluation of whether this is a human. So if you're afraid of AI agents potentially taking over your online classes, especially in asynchronous work, having assessments that include writing, we're vetting for kind of like the human factor, in addition to, is it Chris still that remains the student over time in what we hope is a really low friction and privacy friendly way. We don't receive any PII about the students related to like their email address or names. We're just using a user ID to verify it's the same user over time. And it also adds the benefits of being able to kind of play back or allow the student to play back their writing while also building a personal and personalized profile related to their writing alone, right? So it's like, what does my writing look like over time? Is my speed increasing? Is my editing increasing? And how does editing impact my grades? That's more transparency about the student related to their actual effort and authorship.
Yeah, I think that's the operative time, or the term for Cursive is the overtime. Like
Overtime,
compared to
right.
all the other tools, Cursive benefits, and I think it also sends a message for the student. Like it benefits from ongoing practice, from a regular activity of writing or typing down. For the data that it provides, it lets students, and I mean, let's students and teachers have a conversation about how their writing process has evolved over time, right?
Right.
And I think one of what I think is the ideal AI cases nowadays is for make a lot of data, because I know all schools and all organizations have tons of data, um, making it approachable, making it useful. And in this case, I think I see a future not so distant where AI could help you kind of look into the data, like all of the analytics that Cursive is collecting about how you write, and helping you like make sense of it for your own journey if you're a student, or for your students.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so too. I think it's like we've used Strava for writing, right? It's like a kind of a personalized
yeah,
track record of your of more than just your word counts, right? It's like think of like granular information about kind of how I write and what I expect. Me myself using it is like I actually is like use it as a guide of whether I want to do another pass from a revision standpoint, because I know what good writing feels like. I know what gets shared. I know the kind of response I get when I put out a LinkedIn post or a Substack. And this is if I want to kind of hold myself to a high standard, I really need to put the time and effort into doing the writing. And that's one of the things where it's like without that, I'm in a sense, I didn't have a quantitative metric to help me kind of make sure I'm trying to hit those things, right? It's more of like trying to remember or trying to do another round of proofreading. But sometimes too much is too much, right? So this is just a good guidance for
yeah.
me to kind of know when to move on, when to be satisfied with the work, and to be confident in my own kind of proofreading and evaluation of work as well, and friendly to use AI, right? It's like I can still leverage any of the other tools to kind of get a second opinion from an AI, or to get feedback, or to use Grammarly to make corrections and other things like that. But I still have the confidence that it's my voice, my authorship behind the writing that I'm ultimately going to share, whether that's for class or for, content marketing or something like that. So,
Yeah, I think that's also an important takeaway. Like originality and authorship, it has a lot to do with confidence. And I think it's an open question, but tools like Cursive do pave a way towards some solution where the student is more confident and more aware of its own skills, right? Uh, thanks to that practice. We're a bit over time, so Joe, I don't know if you have like any closing remarks or concluding words to summarize what we
no, I would say is like
touched on today.
yeah, lots of resources out there. I'm happy to be a resource as well. If you are listening now, or if you're watching, feel free to reach out for me. I know we were way over time. I think Chris and I had estimated this as like a 30-minute presentation, which we are well beyond that. So apologize for the verbosity. We'll do our best to edit it down and make it more concise next time. But yeah, happy to be a resource. Please reach out. Please connect. And give Cursive a follow or a look. If you're trying to improve the usability of writing as assessment in the classroom, I really think that we're focused on the right things from a student and human perspective, is really valuing the writing process while encouraging and including the opportunities for students to use AI in their workflows. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you and your time and Cursive. So thank you everyone for joining us and for these conversations. Hope to have more of them over time. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks very much.